Welcome to Baseball Biz. I'm Mark Corbett, your host, and great to have you here once again. You can find us here as always and also on Apple iTunes Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and several other directories. Today, though, we want to kind of take a look at what's going on with the 2020 season. We're only 1 week away from opening day, and a lot of things have had to happen to make this roll out properly. MiLB and the Players Association had to come together with an agreement. There's a lot of protocols for safety that they're taking and testing, and that also includes what happens with the umpires. At this point, 11 umpires have opted out of participating in this season, and folks like Joe West, who's 67, has certainly made it clear that he is not opting out, and we can certainly expect to see a lot of Joe as well. We were very fortunate in the past to have an interview with a man who I think is a consummate professional with minor league baseball, a man who certainly has the approval and the respect of many. He is the Assistant Director of Baseball and Business Operations in minor league baseball, Mr. Andy Shultz. Andy, I spoke with last year about in May of 2019. He gave us a pretty good interview regarding what's actually going on in Vero Beach when they had their umpire training each year. I asked Andy to share with us what that first conversation would be like with someone who was interested in attending the academy.
A kid calls, hey man, I've been umpiring for 3 or 4 years. I'm thinking about becoming a pro. What does it all mean? How does it work? And I'll just kind of give you that here. But obviously it's a month-long training program, and it's one of 2 professional umpire schools. If you want to become a minor league umpire, if you want to try to climb the ladder of getting to the major leagues, you have to attend one of the 2 schools, either our school or the other school, the Wendelstedt school. 4 weeks long, 6 days a week, 8 in the morning until about 6 in the evening. Out of the 24 days, there's, I think, 20 or 21 tests. The physical side of it, it's a bear. And yeah, one of the main ideas is at the end of that month, umpire development, our instructors and Dusty and his staff make up minor league baseball umpire development. So that's what makes this program special and unique, is the fact that these kids are coming to school. Well, not kids, but all of our students are coming to school learning from the guys who train, teach, evaluate, supervise minor league umpires. And yes, one of the goals at the end of that month is to try and find, the next crop to hopefully move on to professional baseball. So that top, 22, 25, 28, whatever the number is, but we'll take our top 25, for example. The other school will bring their top 25, and they're the ones who advance to the minor league baseball advanced course. But the big thing I have to tell students over and over again is, hey, you're coming to school, and 90% of the students attending want to get a job in professional baseball. And we get some what I would consider non-traditional students. We get folks in their 50s, 60s, 70s that have always wanted to come to umpire school, want to be part of it, and they come down knowing, hey, I'm not even trying to get a job. I just want to be part of it, But still, 90+% of our students that come are coming with the goal of getting a job, and unfortunately, only about 20%, 25% qualify. So our big responsibility is to make sure that all of those students leave a much better umpire than when they came in, and that's something I guarantee it to all of our students. I guarantee you as a student, regardless of whether you get to go into minor league baseball or not, there's no question you're going to leave a much better umpire than when you came in. It's just the question of how good are you going to be, and you're going to be good enough to qualify. And, for many of these guys, for those that maybe never even umpired before, okay, you know what? You've got the chance to maybe just get into your high school group, start working your way into college baseball. A lot of guys that are already working college baseball hope to get that chance to work D1 someday. And the nice thing about this program is whatever level you're at now, it's certainly getting you ready for the next level. And a big thing with umpiring is, yes, you're going to take all these technical skills with you, but still to get the experience and deal with that pressure, the big challenge is you're not just going to finish umpire school and jump right into Division I. I mean, that just doesn't happen. It's almost like comparing it to going straight to AA, AAA, or the big leagues. You still got to get your dirt on your shoes and get that experience of knowing how to deal with those types of coaches. Mark, I'm going to give you an example. I've got a student that just registered with us this year, and I'm back doing college baseball now down here in Florida. And he just joined the group that I'm in. There's about 150 plus umpires in this group, many of which are former minor league umpires. Of course, those minor league umpires, especially those that had AAA level and even some big league spring, maybe some big league games. Of course, they're gonna move to the top quicker because they know how to handle that stuff, and certainly they have the technical side down. But the pressure doesn't get to them of that highest level. And so this guy that I've gotten familiar with, he just joined the college group this year and has been a high school umpire for the last 10 years. He's in his early 40s. And he wants to come to school to hopefully get a job in the minor leagues. He understands it's going to be difficult because he's going up against guys that are half his age. But, there's no age limit and the chance is there. But the big thing is, look, if I can't get into the minor leagues, I want to climb that ladder of college baseball. And I've told him, I said, look, you're not just going to be able to take the certificate and go to our schedulers and say, hey, give me University of Florida against Alabama, So that's still something like with all the technical stuff you're going to learn from our program is that still you got to get on the field and work your way up level by level to where you're comfortable and able to handle yourself. The last thing you want to do is get to a level where it's too far ahead of you and you're trying to play catch up and trying to, I think you get the picture that I'm painting there. So anyway, that's one big thing that we always have to remind ourselves is that, look, 75% of our students aren't going to get a job in the minor leagues. But what are we doing to get them the ability to be the best umpire they can be? And then certainly when they go back home, they're going to share their experience with others back in their local community and say, hey, this was, even though I didn't get a job, this was the greatest experience of my life. It's made me a better umpire, blah, blah, blah. And if you're going to go to school, that's the school you need to go to. So that word of mouth is certainly something that helps there. So there's my first, 6-minute spiel of what it is, who we are, what we're trying to do, and what our students should expect by coming to our program.
Yeah, no, that is. I mean, it's a great explanation of what the expectations of the students may be. It's the great as far as the expectations of what they're going to walk away with. If they're thinking that immediately they're going to be into a minor league, a major league career, the reality being that 25% of your folks are really going to be the only ones stepping up that year for minor league. How does it go as far as assessments after they're in the minor leagues? I mean, is it at the end of each year that they have to be recertified, or how is their performance?
Well, and I'll take you to the next step, and the way the next step kind of works out is how it works out throughout the rest of the career. So you advance to the advanced course. You and 25 others from our program, 26 from the other program. So let's just say it's 52 at the advanced course in a particular year. At the end of that week, the umpire development is going to look at all those guys and rank them out top to bottom, number 1 to number whatever. And then as jobs open up in the minor leagues, those guys will get plugged in. So this past year at the end of the advanced course back in February, at the time, I believe there were 18 jobs available going into the season. And that might not be accurate, but that's usually the idea that, 18, 20, 22 jobs are available going into the season in February. But as time continues throughout the season, not just February, March, and April, but even as late as August, there are moves that happen all season long. Guys decide, hey, I'm going to hang it up. Guys say they go home for the All-Star break and say, you know what, I don't feel like going back. Guys have a season-ending injury. So we've been pretty fortunate that we've gotten into the upper 40s each year with guys getting jobs. And like I said, it could be even as late as August the 10th. Somebody goes down with maybe their second or third concussion of the year, and our medical coordinator is going to say, you know what, we're going to shut you down for the rest of the season, and you'll come back next year. Well, obviously the domino effect, if that guy's in AAA, you need to move somebody up from top to bottom, and then that brings somebody in at the bottom. During the season, our guys get evaluated multiple times throughout the year. An umpire development supervisor will come in and watch a series, whether it's a 2-man crew or a 3-man crew, and watch the whole series and see each guy work the plate and see each guy work different positions on the bases. After each game, they'll get, verbal reports. They'll get, video evaluation. Spend about an hour and a half after the game talking to the guys about what they observed during the game. And then At the midpoint of each year and at the end of each year, our umpires will get a formal written evaluation, and they'll get re-ranked at the midpoint and at the end. So, here you are, you're sitting number 5 at the start of the season. There have been a couple moves. You move up to number 2, you get to the midpoint, but you had poor evaluations. That guy could maybe drop from 2 back down to, 10, let's just say, and guys could jump over him. So, it's not, you can't just kind of sit on your spot. You got to keep working hard and keep trying to advance yourself. And for the most part, guys do advance. It takes about 6, 7, maybe 8 years to get to AAA. If you start at rookie ball and kind of go a level a year, you're going to spend 2 to 3 seasons in AA and then hopefully get to AAA in that 6th, 7th, or 8th season. Once you're in AAA, that's when Major League Baseball then begins your supervision. You're still a minor league umpire. You're still employed by the minor leagues and the league that you're assigned to. But Major League Baseball does the supervision. And then after, 2 seasons, 3 seasons, maybe 4 seasons, MLB is going to take a look and say, hey, is this someone that we're ready to keep developing? Send them to the Arizona Fall League to get some training there, and then ideally get a big league spring job, and maybe even get a number and get to be able to be a fill-in umpire during the regular season up in the big leagues. But for the most part, 98% of umpires, 90% of umpires, hopefully they can get to AAA, but unfortunately it's going to come to an end. And for some guys, they do get that Arizona Fall League assignment, that big league spring training assignment, and some guys do get those big league games. But even once you start getting big league games, there's no guarantee that you're going to get a job in the big leagues until you sign that actual contract. So you asked me when we first got on, just to give you the example of myself. My first year was 1996. I was 22 years old, went to the Gulf Coast League. My second year, there was enough movement. I actually jumped over short season New York Penn, Appalachian, Northwest Pioneer Leagues. I jumped over them, went to the Midwest League. Spent a year there. The following year, I was in Advanced A in the Carolina League. And then in my 4th year of professional baseball, I got to AA. I spent 2 years in AA and then moved on to AAA, where I spent 3 years. During that time climbing that ladder to get to AAA, I had a fall assignment with Instructional League. I went to Australia one off season to work in the International Baseball League Australia, since folded. Once I got to AAA, I had a Winter League assignment in the Dominican Winter League. And then after my 3rd year, I was invited to the Arizona Fall League. And then at the conclusion of the Arizona Fall League, I unfortunately got that phone call from Major League Baseball saying, Andy, we love you and you're a great guy, but you're just not what we're looking for a Major League umpire. And, I didn't stay on the phone. Well, wait, what do you mean? And what it's, once you get to AAA, there's 50 plus umpires in AAA, Mark. They're all capable of being big league umpires. But the major leagues only need, a handful, a dozen or so, maybe a dozen and a half umpires that they need to help them out. So I don't regret one thing. I got to see parts of the world I never got to see before. My best friends are, former umpires that I got to work with. And that experience of my 20s of being able to do that, got me to where I'm at today. So you got to go into it thinking to yourself, it's probably going to end at some point. You just hope it can end as far as it can. And some guys it ends at umpire school. Some guys it ends after 2 seasons in short season baseball. Some guys only get to AA. But really umpire development's goal is to give you the resources to get you as far as you can go. And they want every umpire to make it to AAA. They want MLB to have a really tough decision to make as far as, do we keep this guy around? Do we give this guy an opportunity, or do we move on from him? And that's a big challenge for MLB because, like I said, everybody at AAA, you got to be a pretty good umpire to get there, So, but that's kind of the course and how it takes. And look, there's some guys right now, Mark, that are in AAA that by themselves, they've been in AAA for almost 10 years. And the big leagues still use them for a lot of games, but yet they still haven't signed that full-time contract. So, like I said, until you sign that contract, there's no guarantee.
Well, it sounds like you give them, Andy, a realistic approach or expectation as far as what that career could be like, how the steps you have to take to be elevated to that, and the physicality of the job. I mean, you were talking about, some concussions possibly as well. And with training a student coming into the academy, what are some of the things that you need to tell them about physicality? What are some of the things, equipment, et cetera, that they need to know and protect themselves with?
I'll tell you this, Mark. The first thing I tell every student, regardless of age, regardless of height, weight, whatever it is, I tell them, you've got to be prepared for the physical side of umpire school. 6 days a week, every afternoon from 1 o'clock until close to 6 o'clock on your feet. It's a grueling challenge. We all wish we could be, 6'3" and 190 pounds and just look the part. But I just tell everyone, coming to school, if you're not prepared, I'm not saying you got to run 2 miles a day, 3 miles a day, but you got to be prepared for it, and don't be caught by surprise. The sore muscles and all that stuff. And look, it's going to happen to some people, but I just tell every guy to be in the best physical condition that you can be. As I sit there and see guys come in as they check in on check-in day, I can sit there and think to myself, wow, this guy looks like an umpire. This guy's got a good build. This guy looks like he's carrying himself well. He's carrying himself with confidence, but still, how's he going to hold up over the course of the 4 weeks? And physical conditioning is huge because it's just a grind. Mark, breakfast is at 7 in the morning. Class starts at 8. You're in the classroom until noon, learning the 2-umpire system, learning the official baseball rules, learning the concepts out of the minor league baseball umpire development manual. And then in the afternoon, you're on the field applying what you learned in the classroom. And there's drills, there's the physical side of things. The second half of umpire school consists of camp games in which our students are the ones playing the field and running the bases with our umpires, with the students, serving as umpires, and then our staff, umpire development, and our minor league umpires that are helping with the training. They're the ones hitting the fungos, setting up all the situations. We don't have live baseball because live baseball doesn't let us set up the scenarios that we're trying to teach. So camp games, you can imagine that it gets a little sloppy with umpires trying to, field a ball and throw it from third to first, and you can only imagine. And that's we just call them kind of it's a camp game baseball. What do you expect, But yeah, like I said, it's just the grind of 6 days a week from 8 in the morning until 6 at night, and get back to your room and get showered up, get some dinner, study for the next day, and then get to bed and get back the next day. If you can get out on Saturday night, or if you can get out sometime Sunday and just enjoy that evening and that day to be able to recharge your battery, because Sunday night and through Friday night, you've got to be back in the room getting ready for the next day.
Well, I think that's amazing. You think of all the work of this. As a fan, I don't think many of us sit down and say, "Oh, there's that guy behind the plate," and more times than not, going to be criticizing that particular person, but they don't know the training that goes into it. When I look at an umpire, I think the person has to have a personal strength, a visual acuity, a confidence, and a sense of teamwork working with the other umpires. And I respect that. And I think most people who enjoy the game recognize that. I think a passive fan may be very critical of an umpire, but most fans realize, true fans, what's involved, at least have an inkling of what's involved. What would you say to somebody who wants to be a student of your academy? How would you tell them to proceed?
Well, I tell them, regardless of whatever experience you have, get on the field, and even if you never umpired a day in your life and you go out and do a 10U game, just to get out there and just feel what it's like to see it through the eyes of an umpire. Look, we're teaching you, regardless of your experience, we're teaching you from scratch. We're going back to square one and teaching you, how to get into a plate stance, how to stand hands on knees when you're out there in the middle of the infield. We're teaching you how to put your mask on, because we're going to teach you how to do it the professional way, and it's building blocks over the course of the whole month. So regardless of your experience, we're teaching you from scratch. And I just tell everyone, keep working, but keep in mind that when you come to us, if you have experience, I umpired for 5 years, but no formal training, but I umpired 5 years before I went to school. And I got there, and everyone just told me, clear your mind, and whatever it is we teach you to do, you're going to do. There's a challenge with school, and part of the intimidation factor is, and I'll just take it back as myself as an example. When I went to school at 22 years old, I never went to umpire school before. and you're in a classroom where there are a number of returning students, and you see them during drills, and you see them in the first week or so of class, and you're looking at them going, holy cow, look at that guy. He's miles ahead of me. And I'm coming in on a scale of a 1 to 10. I'm coming in at a 3, and we've got guys that are second-year students that are coming in at a 5 or a 6. But over the course of the month, I advance myself from a 3 to a 7, but the returning student advances himself from a 6 to an 8. Well, part of umpire development, and kind of like player development, is that you want to find someone that you can mold and develop over the course of their career. And as weird as this sounds, umpire school doesn't mean that necessarily the best umpire at that time in school is going to get selected. A lot of those returning students come back and they just level off. They hit a peak the first or second week and they just kind of level off. Whereas we're looking for people who can still grow and develop. And that second year student, we want to see you grow from a 6 to an 8 or a 9. That young student that comes in and starts as a 3 and can get himself to a 7. All these numbers are relative, of course, but you get the gist of what I'm trying to say, that second year guys, there are a lot of guys that get jobs in their second year coming back. But if it's your first time going to school, don't be discouraged by looking at a guy that clearly had 4 previous weeks of umpire training, worked some independent ball. Of course, he's at a different level at you at that point. But what are you doing to show that growth and development over the course of the whole month? And, there are a lot of guys that never umpired a day in their life. They played baseball in college. They maybe barely worked a couple, 10U games in the fall before they went to school. But then they come to umpire school, and those guys, we can really develop them into umpires because they don't have any bad habits to break. Those guys that been umpiring for a while, like I said, myself, I umpired for 5 years without the formal training. I got a lot of bad habits to break, and if they're going to teach me how to do something, I'm going to do it exactly the way that they taught me. And I was fortunate that after that first time at umpire school, I was able to get a job.
That's outstanding. We're speaking with Andy Shultz, administrator for minor league baseball and Umpire Training Academy. And Andy, let's see, that's what is it? Each year in January, the Jackie Robinson Training Center, is that where anybody who's interested in this, where they would be participating?
That is correct. Yeah, our next session is going to be running from January 5th through February 2nd at what's now called the Jackie Robinson Training Complex, the old Dodgertown Spring Training Complex over in Vero Beach, and it's a fantastic setup, Mark. It's basically an all-inclusive sports resort. The packages that we have in place that our students, for our room and meals package, really, other than getting themselves to Florida, that room and meals package includes, a shared room in one of the villas there at the Jackie Robinson Complex. It includes all your meals. We'll give them 6 Academy T-shirts, a jacket, and a cap. We'll give them all their student materials. We do invite students to bring their own equipment, and we do have a partnership with an equipment company, umpattire.com. But still, our students each day are going to have to bring some of their own equipment or get that equipment, and part of their uniform. I mentioned we give them the T-shirts, the jacket, and the cap. They'll be wearing that with their base pants and base shoes. That's their uniform every day in the classroom and on the field. So, but it's the Jackie Robinson Complex, and MiLB has since purchased it, and they're putting a lot of resources into it and really sprucing the place up. And it's been a great home for us in our existence, and we're hoping that it's going to just keep developing now that MiLB is putting some resources into it and really sprucing the place up even that much more.
Well, that's great to hear. I mean, looking at all that advancement happening with the training center itself. But if somebody was to be a student of this, now where would they go to register to qualify?
We can be found at MiLB umpireacademy.com. That's our main website, and lots of information there, video, descriptions, so on and so forth, descriptions of our class, of our classroom experience, what happens on the field, bios of our staff. But I tell you, the real getting a real good taste of what we do, our presence on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. We've really taken a good social approach to to our marketing, and our Facebook, MiLB, Umpire Training Academy on Facebook. There are regular videos, descriptions of, and video descriptions of, what's a day like on the field, meeting our staff, really kind of taking you behind the scenes of what to expect going into umpire school. When I went to school 20 plus years ago, you just got a brochure with some photos in it and you tried to imagine the rest. Well, the amount of video that we have through our Facebook feed is really, it's astronomical, and our staff has produced all that footage ourselves. So, check that out. It really helps paint the picture of what to expect when you come to school.
Andy, I can't thank you enough for joining us today on Baseball Biz and going over about the Umpire Training Academy, what it takes for a student to get there, and the whole career path. So thank you for joining us today, and we wish you and all those umpire trainees and also those already in the field a wonderful season, and hope to speak with you again in the future.
It's been a pleasure. I really appreciate it, and we hope to have more of you join us in January down in Vero Beach, Florida.
Excellent. Thank you, Andy.
Thank you.
And there you have it, Andy Shultz, from our interview with him back in May of 2019. He's the Assistant Director of Baseball and Business Operations in Minor League Baseball. Also somebody, like I said, who has made a big difference with folks who are trying to advance themselves as umpires. Andy, I want to thank you again and salute you and all the folks at Minor League Baseball who've been making everything exciting for a lot of us in our community. So thanks to Andy. I remind you all, I'm Mark Corbett. You've been listening to Baseball Biz. You can find us here and also on your favorite podcast service, whether it be Apple iTunes, iHeartRadio, Google Podcast, or wherever. We look forward to talking with you again real soon. Thank you very much, and have a great week.